Welcome to the cell, everybody. Cool conversations with the most amazing salespeople I can find. People, welcome back to the cell. Sometimes in life you meet people on LinkedIn, and then uh, we you become friends, and then you realize, hold on, we've never met each other in real life, but we talk a lot. We both run. We've both gone backwards and forwards about lots of different stuff, and it's super cool to have my friend, who I've never met in real life, but we are friends, Aram Mughalyan from Armenia today, from many places normally. How are you, man?
I'm pretty good, Matt. How are you?
I am all right. Isn't it crazy we haven't actually met?
It is crazy, but I have a feeling I've known you. I think we have been talking since 2021, so that's probably 5 years. And I discovered you in 2020 when I started running, and I saw your TED talk about ultramarathon running, how you started. And I'm like, wow. And at that point, you didn't have a lot of people talking about their running journey, and you were one of the few. So I'm like, and then I just accidentally searched you on LinkedIn. I'm like, wait a second, he's also running company. He's in sales. He's a sales guru. Like, wow, I didn't know that. So, and then we connected, and then yeah, after a couple of years, you also started posting on LinkedIn about your runs, and then yeah, we've been chatting since then.
And we have indeed, our shared love of running. We've both been through some injuries up and down, and it's always good to have support. And I'm happy to say that you're back running. We're both running at the moment, so that is cool. But here's the crazy part. I'm pretty open that I'm not a crypto and Web3 fan. And I must admit, maybe Aram's been very kind to say that we connected on LinkedIn. At first, I used to troll you a little bit, right? You used to post some like crypto stuff, and I was like, crypto sucks. Remember that?
Yep, yep.
I, I, I mean, I hope it was polite trolling. More than anything.
It was polite, and I think since then we have had a remarkable transformation in the crypto space. So what really happened was you had traditional finance called TradFi and crypto, and now they're both merging. So traditional finance is becoming more open to new technologies such as blockchain, and crypto is becoming more institutionalized. And its use cases, especially those in the B2B enterprise, institutional fintech space, are becoming more and more commonplace. So you're having a lot less degen vibes of the crypto native vibes, so to say, and it's becoming a lot more formal, a lot more regulated, a lot more compliant. So in a way, these two worlds are going to merge. And my prediction is now some of the biggest institutions, they have their own blockchains, their tokens, or they're planning to launch a stable coin. They're planning to tokenize their assets, of course, in a compliant way. So these two worlds are kind of merging, and it's becoming something like Web 2.5, which is semi-centralized, semi-decentralized, a lot more efficient, and something that's going to benefit end users, I believe.
Hey, look, and that's what I want to talk about. It doesn't matter my views on it. I've actually come to learn and respect over time that, as you say, there is something in here. But what I wanted to chat to you about is, I think it's fair to say, well, certainly LinkedIn recognizes you as one of the top voices. I think you've got 35, 38,000 followers, maybe more, I'm not sure. You can tell me, but it's fair to say that you've become kind of one of the main storytellers, and sales is storytelling, of the Web3 crypto space. Do you regard yourself as a storyteller in that space?
Yeah, you can say that. I have 63,000 actually.
What?
And yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, I started my journey a couple of years back, and back then everybody was like, if you're in crypto, you have to be on X only, formerly Twitter. And I'm like, no, I want to be on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has a lot more legitimacy. It has real people with real identities. You have a lot less scams, rug pulls, fraud, and most importantly, you have these stakeholders with deep pockets, especially those at big institutions and enterprises who actually have budgets. So a couple of years ago, that was my hypothesis, and when I started, a lot of people didn't agree with me. But now, especially since 2025, we had a remarkable transformation. Essentially, crypto was hostile for regulators, particularly in the US, but with the new
Yep.
administration that completely flipped. We have a crypto friendly president, crypto friendly regulator. We had a couple of major pieces of legislation passed, primarily the Genies Act, which essentially legalized stablecoins, and we are on the brink of passing another market structure bill known as Clarity. So, again, this is going to bring a lot more clarity to the space. So, what that meant was that crypto started going from a niche thing for crypto natives, cryptographers, people, for cyberpunks, to becoming something that people use without even realizing it. Because when you send money, for example, a lot of the times that money is being processed on blockchain, it's not being processed using archaic systems like Swift, which are slow, which charge a lot of money. It's being processed on blockchain. And most importantly, it's done in a compliant way. So it's not some essentially crypto. They used to say crypto is something for money launderers and
Yep.
criminals, and a lot of the CEOs of some of the top institutions like JP Morgan and I think BlackRock used to say that, but now the narrative has completely switched and they regard crypto as something legitimate.
As you started that, becoming the guy on LinkedIn, because you're right, a couple, 4 or 5 years ago when we were first chatting, definitely there was this degen kind of attitude around it. How did you think about what, like, were you always, I can see that it's going to be institutionalized. I want to ride in that direction, or were you actually thinking, how do I tell this story? How did you approach it?
I think I could see, and here is why. So we had the crypto boom in 2021 and early 2022, right? But then for the next 2 years, that crypto native bubble didn't grow. And then at the same time, I was watching when ChatGPT came around in late 2022. Literally, it took everybody by storm. Everybody started using it, and then their numbers started skyrocketing. And I'm like, okay, so we have two emerging technologies. One has been adopted everywhere, and everyone is talking about it. And the other one, it's still this degen crypto native community, and then outside of it, everybody's still thinking of it as a fraud, as something illegitimate. And then I realized if crypto wants to gain legitimacy, it needs to embrace that the way to go mainstream is via institutional rails, via B2B partnerships, using the existing distribution channels of big banks, fintechs, etc. This was not the vision of Satoshi, the founder of Bitcoin. He really wanted everybody to transact using your own self-custodial wallet. And the truth is, every single person can do that. You have the tools. It's just that it's complex and people don't want it. So you can't force users to say you have to go, you have to install your own self-custodial wallet, and then you have to choose the chain, you have to have the gas, and you have to transact on chain. A lot of people, they just want simplicity, a user-friendly UI UX. So that was the realization I had a couple of years ago, and I thought, okay, you know what? It's the centralized players like Revolut, like Wise, like banks that have these end users, but they are inefficient because on their back end they are still using archaic systems like Swift, for example, right? That's why
Yep.
sending money from, I don't know, from one country to another, it can take up to 5 days and a lot of fees. But then I realized if you marry these two worlds, you bring blockchain and then existing institutions who have users, you can actually gain a lot of benefits. Costs can down for users. You can start having things like 24/7 markets for real world assets, for digital assets, for transacting on chain, etc. So, long story short, I had this hypothesis that this is the path we would go there, and now things are unfolding pretty much the way I envisioned.
So,
And what I have been doing on LinkedIn is just basically telling this story that the mindset that we had on X, which was this crypto native mindset, that mindset will not go mainstream. That community will not go mainstream. It still will stay small, and a lot of projects came out of that. But if you want to mature, and if you want to appeal to the mainstream audience, you have to speak their language. You have to speak the Wall Street speak. That's what I say.
I honestly, man, that's what I was going to come to. Like, it's so interesting. You're on LinkedIn, right? and you're the guy that's basically. And I see some of your posts, and it's so clever because essentially it's a story or it's selling an idea, but your idea is,
Mhm.
hey, crypto dudes, you're saying it the wrong way. It's over here.
Yep.
Like, you're not telling them they're wrong. Well, you kind of tell them they're wrong. You post things like Web3 is dead, but the use is not. Or you post things like, hey,
Yep.
this crypto world is. It's a really. Hey, with 62,000, obviously it works, man. But yeah, do the crypto natives kind of not get what you're saying? Like, how does it feel being
Yeah,
like,
I get some pushback, but I think most of my followers understand and agree with me. Of course, if you state a certain opinion, you will always have someone who disagrees with you,
of
and that's
course.
fine. But the majority of my followers agree with me, and they say this is the right direction, this is where we're headed. And also, a lot of the crypto natives, they don't want to be on LinkedIn. They're still living in that crypto native bubble on X, so they don't even see my posts, and that's totally fine. I think every community can be wherever they want to be. But the most positive development is that some of the most crypto native projects, like I can bring a very good example, I made a post about it. So there was this DAO, decentralized autonomous organization called MakerDAO.
Sure.
Now they have rebranded to Sky. And what they did for 2025, they dropped a report. And when I read their report, I'm like, wow, this sounds like an annual report of a corporation rather than a decentralized project. Because they are talking, it was a totally Wall Street speak. They talk about things like profits, revenue. They talk about like market capitalization, etc. They don't speak like degen language like, oh, FDV, this and that. No, they were speaking literally Wall Street language, and they are technically a decentralized protocol that lives on chain, but they essentially use the same terminology that the Wall Street understands, that investors understand. And that brings clarity because in crypto we have these terms that always sometimes they mean different things, and a lot of times it's used to, I don't know, hide some information. It's used to, do your public token sale and then just dump the tokens on your community and exit early or whatnot, right? But what Sky was doing was essentially, it's like, hey, I'm going to speak the Wall Street language. I want to be, I want to sound like an institution. And that was like, wow, this is one of the oldest protocols. They have been around for almost 10 years now,
Wow.
and they speak the Wall Street language. So this was like, okay, if they are doing this, I should expect other crypto projects to follow suit.
Isn't it wild, right? The crypto guys are like, death to banks. Yo, we hate Wall Street. Wall Street sucks. And then slowly they're like, oh, wait, if we just kind of talk like that, because that was always the problem, right? It was, hey, you need a blockchain and a custodial wallet and, token and airdrop. And, regular humans were like, what? Like the story just didn't resonate. And I think it's right. You were on the right path. You've got to tell a story. I mean, if you sell anything, it's got to be clear why
Mhm.
people want to use it.
Yeah, and now also the terminology for a lot of institutions is changing. They don't use crypto; they use digital assets. They use, yeah, I mean, they still use Bitcoin, but they refer to it like a as a digital asset. So again, a lot of the times, even in my posts, I'm kind of tweaking the language. Sometimes I use crypto, sometimes I use digital assets, sometimes I use other things, and yeah, this shift is unstoppable, and that's because if you look at the whole crypto space, it's, I don't know, it's 3 point something trillion, right? The max was around 4 trillion.
Yep.
That's the capitalization of one of the Mag 7 Magnificent 7 companies. Nvidia is more than that. Google, I think, is around that. And the whole US equities market is, I don't know, I think it's like 100 trillion. Like,
Sure.
anyways, it's like orders of magnitude more, right? So when you start thinking about it, where the real capital is, you realize crypto is just a drop in the ocean, and the real one is somewhere else. And that was this realization for me that, like, okay, Bitcoin, okay, I still believe in Bitcoin, it can go higher, but what is causing the price jump? It's a lot of times it's the institutional money, it's the ETFs, it's all these DAT, digital asset treasury companies, which are buying Bitcoin in a compliant way and putting it on their treasuries. So a lot of the demand for a lot of the buy pressure for crypto assets in 2025 has been coming from various institutions. It's not retail. Actually, the retail has been exiting a lot of the OGs who have been mining Bitcoin 10 plus years ago. They were exiting. So that's why you had a lot of sell
Sure.
pressure. And these people made some pretty good money. They made millions and some of them billions of dollars. And essentially it was the capital shifting from retail to institutions. So uh, now you have all these digital asset treasury companies, and they hold low single digit Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, whatever. And I think that percentage over time is going to grow.
That's so honestly, the reason I smiled when you said the money moved from retail to institutional, that's been the truth ever since Wall Street started, right? The institutions always take money from retail.
Yeah, yeah. But the most beautiful thing for me is that you still have the option if you want to transact on chain as a degen. If two degens want to transact on chain, they have the option to do so. So
True.
crypto is like, hey, if I want to send money using centralized front end, like whatever, I can do so. If I want to send money to my mom or my grandma, I can do it. I can use some of the apps, and these apps will probably be using stable coins uh, under the hood, right? And using blockchain for that. But if I'm a degen and I want to send like stable coins to my friend, I can also do so.
Yeah.
Before you didn't have the second option, you only had to rely on these centralized intermediaries, and a lot of people didn't like that. But now you have the option. If you want to go digital way, do it. If you want to send money like 99% of people do, you also have that option. And in both cases, things are much faster, fees are a lot lower, so we have a lot more efficiency gains, so to say.
Totally. And I think your point is that, if you want to send money to your grandma and you don't see it, because most people who send money, they don't know what Swift is. They have no idea they don't need to see that. And if it turns out
Yep.
to be stablecoin, it's fine. But just shifting gears a little bit, right? I am, so my daughter, my 25-year-old daughter says to me, Dad, you're a Z grade influencer on LinkedIn, right? I'm at the very bottom of the, chain. But, I've got a meager 20 something thousand. But the reality is, it's not about that. It's about, from a sales perspective, uh, I can see over the last few years that posting content about what you know about, so for me, sales, for you, absolutely this
Mhm.
crypto evolution, it absolutely drives conversations, which turn into prospects, which turn into clients, right? It is, yeah, but still, a huge number of people are like, oh, LinkedIn sucks, it's full of crap, it's just got blah, blah on it. And I'm like, look, it might be full of crap, but it's a sales lead machine. That's how I think about it. So it powers my business. So just straight up,
Yep.
LinkedIn is the power to my business. Same for you?
Absolutely. If you're in the B2B space, doesn't matter if you're in Web3 or in other industry, LinkedIn is the place to go, right? If you want to get leads, the process is actually, it has a lot of similarities whether you are in Web3 or whether you're in Web2 or some other industry.
Correct.
If you post content, you essentially tell your story in a way that others can relate and understand. You talk about the pain points of your ideal customer profile, ICP, and people can relate. They start following you, right? And then you start posting content, they start liking and engaging with your content, leaving comments, sharing, etc., saving your posts. And then what they do, sometimes they send you a DM, and then they're like, oh, I see what you're doing. And then if you have a clear offer, like, I don't know, I'm coaching uh, B2B startup CEOs in sales or whatever, well, you just got a lead. Or you can be a bit more proactive. You can go and see who are the people who engaged with your content, which means they have been exposed to your ideology, they know what to do, and you just send them a highly customized DM and say, hey, I saw you are building in, I don't know, healthcare space. I worked with another healthcare CEO, and then I helped him, I don't know, double his sales in 3 months. Are you curious to see how I did that? Do you mind if I share what I did for him? They're like, yeah, sure. And then boom, and then you share, and then he's interested, and then you got another lead.
So me and you completely agree on this, dude. I tell people, I'm 58. Actually, I really appreciated the other day you posted on one of my things. Hey, you're putting 18-year-olds to shame at 57. I'm like, dude, I'm 58, almost 59. So I was like, yeah,
Wow. Wow.
let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But the point is, when I started in sales 35 years ago, we didn't have any way to get inbound leads. I was literally phoning people and knocking on doors. So
Yeah.
today, when I see LinkedIn, and I think you described it beautifully, you can influence people with your ideology, with the way that you think, and then they will talk to you. Why do you think it's so hard for people to do it? Because we both know most people don't post on LinkedIn, even in sales. They don't use it. What is the barrier to entry that stops? Because LinkedIn says only 1 in 100 posts and only
Yeah.
1 in 1,000 post video. Sure, there's some technicality about video, but not really. Why do more, why don't more salespeople and founders use it to generate business?
I think there's a couple of reasons. For a lot of them, they still think of LinkedIn as, oh, it's my online CV. I only go to LinkedIn to apply for a job or update my profile when I get a new job. And initially, LinkedIn started as a platform which was primarily for job seekers, right?
Sure.
But then it evolved. It became a social media network for business professionals. But I think a lot of people still have this old mindset that, oh, LinkedIn is it's just my CV, so I don't want to post. The second reason is a lot of people still think posting on LinkedIn is cringe for whatever reason. But I'm like, you know what? It's not cringe. It's cringe to send random DMs to cold DMs to people or spam them. That is cringe. When you tell your story, it's not cringe. If it's getting leads for you, it's not cringe. And even if you think it's cringe, but it's getting me leads, I'm not breaking any rules, then I don't care. Like, let it
I,
be cringe if you think it is cringe.
but actually, dude, I love that one. I love that one. It's more cringe to send a random cold DM to someone who's shown no interest in you, and you just like shove like a email or a DM on Telegram or WhatsApp in their face. You're right. That's like way
Yeah,
weirder.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I think people still think that, like if you look at the B2C, right, especially in Asia, like TikTok e-commerce, right, it's a B2C platform. It used to be social media. Now it's kind of like competing with some of the largest e-commerce platforms in Southeast Asia. The TikTok's Chinese version, same. What people literally do, I would go to a mall in China. I was in China recently. I would see people live streaming like this, like literally like this, their products. They have a small stall. They just go to this Chinese version of TikTok and they live stream and say, okay, I have this product, I have that product. Are you interested in this? And then people like in live they're sending comments, and then these merchants are doing that. So essentially, it's a way of content. You are just live streaming, right? People sell noodles live streaming. People, it's
What?
crazy. It's crazy. Like even like in China, you have this food delivery app, and most of the stores there, like it's very popular in Asia. I know like you don't see it in Uber Eats, but like you would literally go to restaurants page to order food, and then they have this section when you click, and sometimes you would see a person live streaming, like eating food, showing how they cook food, whatever. It's crazy.
What?
Yeah. My friend, like in China, he's selling noodles. He's like, my business is going great, and I'm primarily selling on the Chinese version of TikTok. So again, it's just a matter of mindset to redefine what is cringe, what is not. Like, is it cringe to sell noodles over TikTok?
But
Maybe, but you know what? It works. Who cares?
but that's it's wild. And then you think about it, right? On LinkedIn, people are embarrassed to write a little bit, right? Like LinkedIn is so far below that, right? People are
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm gonna write a little bit. And you're right, meanwhile in China, dudes are like live streaming noodles.
exactly. And you know what's the beauty about live streaming? That you are being authentic. One problem is even some people when they start posting, they are just either using this corporate talk, which is like
Sure.
it's like they're posting as if it's 2010, like you know on LinkedIn. I'm happy to announce that I got a job, blah blah blah. Okay, well that's boring. Or they're using AI and and they sound just like everybody else. So what you want to do is you want to bring your authentic self and just tell your story. In the early part of the call, you asked me about storytelling. That's why it's powerful, because your story is only yours. Your story, nobody else has your story, Ned. Think about it, right? So if you
Sure.
tell your story, you're gonna stand out from anybody else. But if you are using ChatGPT to write a post, and other, I don't know, 20 million people are using the same tool and writing similar posts, then it's becoming AI slope, and people just they
And
don't
and
like it, let's
I,
say.
I totally agree. I totally agree. You know, I think maybe for both of us, we're lucky enough that we're a few years into content. We've gone past this, it's cringe or whatever. And we've also realized, hey, like, you know, I only have my story. You only have your story. You say it. You're passionate about Web3 and crypto. It's clear. And I'm passionate about sales and it's clear. And people ask me, how can you post something every day? I'm like, dude, I think about this all day long. Like, there's no issue with content. Like, I think about sales all day long and I just put something on the page. You think about Web3 and crypto. So, yeah, it's true. And when somebody's like, you know, it's like a corporate video. Hello, I work for ABC Company. ABC Company sells one, two, three. I'm like, oh, dude, please. So, a question is, and this just comes to my mind, we don't see e-commerce on LinkedIn. So a little secret here. I have been thinking about running a shopping channel on LinkedIn. You know what shopping TV is? Where people buy stuff, what used to be what's happening in China now, live streaming noodles. I
Right,
wonder why
right.
we don't have a SaaS live streaming. Hey, today we're selling a CRM system. Hey, today, do you think LinkedIn could go down the e-commerce and we can actually sell on LinkedIn?
Probably not. I think LinkedIn is primarily B2B, and B2B sales they work differently than the B2C. So
They do.
what you are describing, that this is what TikTok is doing, it's doing in Southeast Asia. It's also now starting to happen in the US and other developed markets. But I think LinkedIn is and will remain primarily B2B. And I guess just different platforms have different vibes and they have different audiences and
But I
different
mean,
type.
yeah, but I mean B2B software sales. I actually mean, hey, so for example, there's all kinds of SaaS that you could buy. Hey, you need a CRM. Tune in, like maybe, you know, so because I'm old, before the internet, we used to have shopping TV on where people would be like, hey, today I'm selling whatever, you know, I'm selling this microphone. This microphone is
Okay,
99.99.
yeah, no, I get.
Call this number
I,
now. And
I don't think it will work because in LinkedIn people want to spend probably a couple of minutes per post. So what's happening is usually you don't really see a lot of people spending watching videos on LinkedIn like the same video
True.
for a long time,
Good
which
point.
is not the case for TikTok because TikTok is pretty much a video platform, right? But you can and do, and people do promote CRMs on LinkedIn. They just use a different lead magnet. One example is, and I know because I have worked with one company, what I would be doing is, for example, I have an audience of founders, right? And these founders have a specific need. Let's say they want to get the latest list of incubators in Southeast Asia. I would prepare a list of all the incubators in Southeast Asia. I would make a very short, maybe 20-second video. And I would say, hey, everybody, I have this list. It's for free. If you want to get it, just like and comment. And when they comment, I would send them the link, and the link would lead to that CRM. And again, they can sign up on that CRM for free and access the list, but you have to sign up. And when they sign up, out of 100 people, maybe 5 or 6 would convert to paid users. So we gave a free lead magnet and then we got paying users. And then
Dude,
I had a large audience and I've worked with this company for a long time. Yeah.
I remember now. You remind me. You were the king
Yep.
of it, dude. You.
Yep.
I remember.
Yep.
You were like, "Hey, I got 1,000 of the next AI investors," and you would scroll and you would see it on the screen.
Yep.
Now,
Yep. Yep.
you were good at that,
Yep.
man.
A lot of people are doing that. Or you could do a different thing. You could say, "Hey, I'm sending you the list of investors. If you're a founder, okay. So I'm not promoting any CRM. You can send in Google Sheets, whatever. It doesn't matter." And then when you send them the DM at the very end, you can say, "P.S. By the way, if you need help with fundraising or warm intros or something, just DM me. I'm help." And then again, out of 100 people, maybe a few of them would be interested, and then you would have more
But
conversations.
this
So
But this is beautiful sales because what you did first was value. You gave them value and then gave your offer, which is completely opposite to like cold DMing your offer or emailing your offer. Hey, you know, I do fundraising. Well, we don't know you. Hey, I gave you a free list of 1,000. Okay.
yep.
Thinking of time, I have a question. So, first question, where do you want to take your offer? Like by the way, I forgot to tell you this. The other day, someone messaged me. He's like, literally, make you blush. I can't see through the screen. He's like, that Aram. he's the OG of crypto content, right? Do you know him? And I was like, oh my God, like you kind of are. He's a LinkedIn guy, very tradfi guy. He's never going to
Okay.
stray into the Twitter world, right? He's like, I need a real, he said, that Aram, he's the OG. And he'd seen me comment on one of your posts, right? And he knows me and I know you, the TradFi guys, right? So clearly, I think today you've established yourself as a storyteller, somebody who can sell. But where do you want to take it for yourself? Where do you want to go with your offer to people?
What I'm doing is currently I'm working with Web3 leaders and Web3 primarily B2B businesses and helping them scale outside of the bubble of crypto Twitter, aka X, and scale on LinkedIn. And and this is because again traditionally all the Web3 leaders, Web3 companies, they have been pretty much only on X. And I will tell you a story, right? Like, let's say you're a project and you want to list your token on Binance or at a major exchange. They would have requirements like, oh, you have to have 100K Twitter followers. Okay, so how do you get that? On Twitter, it's much easier to pump. You have all these agencies who will give you thousands of followers. They're not humans, they're bots. And yeah, they would very quickly pump your numbers and then you would look very good. They would give you artificial engagement. But again, it's just old noise because these are not real users, right? And this has been going on for years, so people are used to kind of operating on X in this environment where you create a mirage of having followers and the community, but in reality you don't, right? And then what's happening is that you can create a mirage, but it's not going to affect your bottom line. You're not going to get real leads. You're not going to get revenue. Especially if you're in the B2B space, this is what matters. That's why we see a lot of projects that raised hundreds of millions of dollars in 2021, in 2022. That was the peak of the Web3 fundraising, and now they're struggling because they don't have sustainable revenue. So what I'm advocating is I'm telling the projects, get out of the bubble. If you want to be on X, that's totally fine, and I think you should be on X. But my point is, will take you only from 0 to 1. If you want to go from 1 to 10, you have to be on other platforms. You have to come to LinkedIn, because this is where, again, if you want to have sustainable long-term revenue growth, you probably, and if you are in B2B space, you would need target institutions, you would need to target enterprises, you would need to target other B2B businesses. And all these businesses, they're not on X and they don't speak your crypto native digital language. So this is what I'm doing. I'm helping them reposition themselves to speak the language of their new target clients and create content that resonates with them and then turns them from followers into qualified leads.
It's great, man. And as you say, like it's great to see it. You've put a lot of time and effort into this. It's great to see that where it goes. Question on LinkedIn. What else do you think it could be doing for us? Like, for example, I don't know if you saw recently, it said it's going to start paying creators. LinkedIn's never paid creators. It's talked about paying creators. Now, I didn't really get exactly how. Is it number of views or likes? What do you think LinkedIn could do for, us? We're smaller influencers, creators on the platform. Have you had any thoughts about a feature or something that LinkedIn could be doing to help from a sales perspective?
Look, I think it would be great if they actually start paying creators. I'm not sure how exactly it will work out. So far, I don't have a lot of details on this. I've been hearing all sorts of conversations, rumors, but again, I haven't seen a program like the one you have on YouTube or on X, right, that is
Yeah.
actually paying creators. But I think it will, overall, I think it will be good because a lot of the creators, they don't monetize their LinkedIn, so they try to create content. And let's be honest, it's really hard to come up with an offer and then start selling that offer because essentially you become a one person business. So currently, if you want to monetize on LinkedIn, you have to have a product or service, and then you have to sell that service. Or you can sell the service of other people, but that's like affiliate marketing, right? But a lot of people, what they want to do is they're like, hey, I'm just going to post about news and updates about a specific industry. I don't want to have an offer to sell, and I just want to monetize that. Currently, there is no way to monetize that. So I think overall it will be a good thing that a lot of people who just want to post their commentaries or insights about a specific industry, they do research and share value with the community, they will get some sort of payback from LinkedIn for their efforts. Because what they are doing for LinkedIn is they're posting content, so thousands of people are coming and every day
100%.
consuming that content, and they're spending time on the platform. And when you spend time on the platform, that means you are also seeing some LinkedIn ads, right? So LinkedIn can
Was.
potentially share part of the ads revenue with these creators. So I think that will be a good move.
I mean, look, you're at 60 odd thousand. Sure, there's people much higher, but and again, there's lots of rumors around it, but I saw it was, upwards of 100,000. Somebody like a Justin Welsh or a Hormozy or big players in the space, they are driving traffic to the platform. Absolutely, right? And, while this is not YouTube or whatever, there's over 1 billion people on LinkedIn. That's 1 in 7 of the planet. If you think about it, of the number of people who have a job, well, I don't know, it's 60, 70, 80%. But it's still a golden age because people aren't posting. Anyway, well, I try to keep these to half an hour ish. Honestly, man. So I have a couple of questions as we are. One thing to say: keep doing your thing. I love to see it, and I do. It's after 4 years, I can see the evolution for you as well. Like you're very clearly saying the institutional path now. Like
Yep.
you kind of call out the degen part of it, but you've come from crypto native, right? You're not a tradfi guy who's trying to say it. Like
No, I'm not.
you're like a respectable previous degen native dude who's
Yeah.
made this.
Yeah. Again, the big problem is that the degen culture didn't scale. And it's
Yeah.
not just that. We have decentralized social media platforms. They're trying to compete with X and LinkedIn. One of them is Farcaster. They have raised like north of 100 million from reputable investors like A16Z, etc. Right? And then what happened? Like a few weeks ago, the founder just openly said we didn't get enough traction, so we're pivoting away to a crypto wallet model. So again, can you have decentralized social media? Yes. Can you have a media where you actually own your followers, because you don't own your followers on LinkedIn or X or etc.? Yes. But again, you know what? These large platforms, they have established network effects, and people don't care enough to move en masse to these other platforms. So it didn't happen. We have all the tools and all the technology. We can build anything decentralized, and there have been a lot of attempts. But apart from these few early adopters, we didn't manage to persuade large number of people to move there. And the same is true about the crypto wallets. Do they exist? Yes. Can we potentially have billions of people transacting using crypto wallets? Yes. But the truth is, we only have tens of millions. That's it. We don't have billions of, but at the same time, we have billions of people using ChatGPT, Gemini, and other AI products. So again, you can't blame your users. You should just realize that, you know what, people sometimes they don't want to go, product is too complex, they want simplicity, they want a solution to their problem. Ideology that, like, oh, I want to have control over my funds is important, but it's important only for, I don't know, maybe 10% of the population. 90% they just want to send money to their grandma back home without paying exorbitant fees, and that's it. They don't really want to have a crypto wallet. So instead of thinking more about ideology, I started thinking more about what are the problems that users care about, how can we solve them. So that was the biggest kind of mindset shift for me, because I really want blockchain to go, um, like to go like mass. I want masses to start using. I want it to go mainstream.
But
But in its current
you've
form, it's not gonna happen. That's what I've realized. It wasn't the realization that I wanted, but I had to look at the facts, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't just fall in love with technology. I have to accept the reality that users are not adopting crypto wallets. That's it.
you've said it beautifully, man. From a sales perspective, if you solve somebody's problem, they'll buy it. They don't care how it works. They don't care what it is. Just solve their problem. Hey, we can send money incredibly cheaply, quickly. Awesome, done. Let's go. So, in a funny kind of way, like honestly, I followed your LinkedIn stuff, and I'm like, it's a bit of a sales masterclass because you have pivoted to a degree, right? And
Yeah.
you've sold your story in the right way. So, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. I have two final questions before we get there.
Yep.
When are we going to run together, man? Like we have to,
Well,
we have to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. Hopefully, sometime soon. I don't know, somewhere in Asia maybe, whether it's Bali or Bangkok or Singapore or whatever. But yeah, hopefully we make it happen this year.
So I know you come to the crypto conferences. I know I don't go to those, but I'll let me see. Let me know which ones you're going to. I would love, hopefully, because I know you're increasing your distances. We could go for a big long run, and that would be awesome. I'm happy to see you running. Before I let you
Yep.
go, I have a couple of final questions. I had them from my previous podcast. They're just kind of not silly, but they're more philosophical questions. I will ask you. All right.
Yep.
First one: if you could live forever, would you?
Yeah. Because you know what? I think at some point, if you're bored, you can just end your life, I guess. So why not? I would like to have the option to live forever, and then if I decide not to continue that, you can always do that. So yeah,
What a practical answer. It's great, right? You know,
yeah,
you're like, hey, I got the option. That makes sense. Okay. And in this world in which you can live forever, you can only eat one food. You have no health consequences from that food, but for the rest of your eternity, you only get, in this make believe world, you only get one food with no health consequences. What food is it and why?
I don't know. Probably like the grilled chicken with something like rice or I don't know. Why? Because I think like every day I've been eating chicken. I love chicken. It's got a lot of proteins. Yeah, I mean, I also love vegetables and fruits and etc. But I have been like, you won't believe it. I've been eating chicken almost every day in 95% of cases, and I haven't gotten bored or something. So I'm still fine. So yeah, I mean, I guess I can continue.
Well, as you said,
Yeah,
you've been on a big health
yeah,
transformation. You're looking good, feeling good, and hey, man, I'm with you. Like I think we're both converted to sure. Every so often I eat some crap, but mainly, exercise a lot, eat super
yep,
healthy,
yep.
and it's a good thing. Aram, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. We will catch up soon. Keep doing your thing on LinkedIn. Uh, it's good to see you telling it how it is, and we will meet soon and get running. Thanks for coming on, man. All right.
Thanks for having me, Ned.
No worries at all. Everybody, that was Aram. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you all soon. Yeah. Aram, just stay on for a minute. It's got to upload, so I'm going to stop.